Hello.
Hello.
Hey, nice to speak to you again. We have
Oh, nice to
spoken
meet
before,
you
haven't
too.
we?
Yes, last
Yeah.
week.
Oh, nice.
I I wanted to talk about how how liberating it's been, everything that I'm learning about dualism,
Yeah,
non-duality.
yeah,
There's one thing that still um while you're speaking about life and death today, how liberating it's been, but can you talk to me about um so it's liberating, but there's still the fear of my children dying.
yeah,
Like I know that like he could just be a cardboard cutout, like you said
yeah.
last week.
Oh, God,
Like
did I?
he's just part of this dream of mine, right?
Yeah,
But and I understand that like love for him, the connection that we share isn't me. It's just love happening.
yeah,
It's not me feeling the love.
yeah,
It's consciousness happening,
yeah,
love happening, right?
yeah. Um, so there's going to be different levels of fear. Like it's natural that, say, if you're out with your son and like a massive dog off the lead with a muzzle comes along and fear arises, and then you go to your son, you maybe take him in your arms or something, or you see your son, running away from you towards a car or something. That is natural that there's fear there. Like our body and mind is producing fear in order to make um, a safe environment for your son. So there's a
Yeah, the
certain amount of fear.
human
Like,
thing
yeah,
that keeps us alive, the
yeah,
evolutionary drive to
yeah.
stay alive. I get that. Yeah.
I remember when so there was a teacher that I used to go and see in India called Ramesh Balsekar. He used to be very famous, but he died in 2009, so he's not, people don't really know about him now. But if you ever get opportunity to look him up, he's a really beautiful speaker and books. And I remember in 2008 or something, or 2007, there were lots of terrorist attacks in Mumbai, near to where he lived.
Mm-hmm.
And people asked him about it. I think I was there at the time, or I arrived just after the attacks or something. I can't remember. And people asked him about fear, and he said if he was in the train station, when someone started shooting, he would be the first to run away. Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes people get like this really wrong idea that like fear is the enemy. Fear is a
Mm-hmm.
natural biological reaction that's happening in the body in order to move you away from situations that are difficult. The problem that happens is then the identification with the fear, and this is the identification with the fear then makes the chakra, the area in your body where you experience fear, stay in fear, because the identification keeps repeating mentally the story of fear. So you keep going over and over again what you're afraid of, and then it makes your chakra, so it's most probably the sacral, the root, or the solar plexus, can even be the heart chakra as well, stay in fear, in negativity. And then it's like a chicken and the egg, because then that negativity in the chakra then begins to produce fearful thoughts in the mind. So my best recommendation for you, knowing that this is a description, not a prescription, that this will either happen or not, it's not really your free will to do it, is to make friends with that fear and explore that anxiety that you're having with your son and with the death, with death, or with losing him, and really get to know what it is that you're afraid about, and really go into it, and you'll find really amazing layers. And you can only do this with a sense of impersonality, because otherwise it becomes too hard to admit. Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a mother, I have a dog, and I think that I've used a dog to help me. Like, I mean, I'm nearly 40 now, so I doubt I'm ever going to have children, but I use the dog to exercise my mothering, nurturing instincts. So I've had dogs most of my 20s and 30s, and I think it's helped me get out that energy of the want to look after something and nurture something. And so I can't really know what it's like to have children, but I do have a lot of experience of working with people, and I put effort into getting to know and really listening to people. And there's so many different things in the fear of losing children. Because why is it that we have children in the first place? There's a biological reason, But I suspect sometimes for some people, and this is more of an identified reason, the reason that we have children is also a fear of being alone and a fear of our survival. And the reason that I say that is from working with people and speaking with people and really getting to know their feelings. And then also, if you look at society, where survival is less secure, people tend to have more children. Where survival is more secure, when survival is less secure, they have more children, and when survival is more secure, they have less children. So I think there must be a connection in that. And when I've worked with people, often like fears come up, not only about their kid and their kid being in danger and the need to protect them, but there's also the fear of if their kid dies, it also threatens their own survival. Right? So there's all these different layers, but that takes a certain amount of relaxation of your identity to be able to admit that to yourself, because it's very difficult to look at our shadow sides. This is like the more shadow mind, the more it's easy to look at the altruistic mind, at the loving mind, at the good mind, but looking at the more difficult, fearful mind, it's hard to look at. And the way that you really get to know this is through getting to know the feeling. So where is it you feel the fear in your body, and what is it the fear is saying to you? And just like meditating on it and giving the fear space. Once you've done that and you've got to know the fear pretty well, and you can recognize it happening in your daily life, you can then turn it into the positive. And this then will help pick up your chakra. And this is just about healing trauma and healing the chakras. So once you've identified it, so say as if really when you're fearing your son dying, you're actually fearing your own survival, then you can say the opposite, which would be I'm safe, I'm healthy, I'm free, I'll have a long life, whatever it is you want. But if you don't identify what the chakra is actually saying, then you can't say the opposite. Like you have to really get to know what the feeling is, because it might not even be that. It might also be a fear of failing. Like you might, like the idea of your son dying might be that you failed, which in the end it comes down to survival as well. But if it's about you failing, then what you would want to be telling yourself in the positive, once you've really acknowledged the feeling, is I succeed, I'm a great mum, I help my son flourish. These types of things. And all of this is like
or just knowing that like failure is not even a real thing, right? I mean,
yeah, that's another
in
thing
my
we could
essence,
do. The only problem with saying that failure is not a real thing, I think that's a great thing to intellectually understand and to contemplate. But when you're using that to pick up your chakras, is saying that is not actually a positive sentence. It's a negative sentence. I know that sounds weird, but the positive sentence is more like these short sentences like I've succeeded. It's because in this you're wanting to say the opposite to what your chakra is saying. So your chakra is saying a negative story and you want to say the opposite. Whereas what you're saying is actually kind of more related to non-duality, and it's a little less neutral to the chakras, but it's really
about
relevant.
The chakras and being human.
Yeah, but that
the
is
chakras
really,
in the human body, on the human level, in the human experience. Like I get it.
And that's really relevant, and that's really true. Like on the ultimate, there is no failure or success, and that's really important as well, that part of the teaching. But you're just trying to pick it up, so you're just trying to put it into positive. It's not something you always need to be in, like always telling yourself I am a success, I am doing well. It's just moving that energy, and then that is like the truth. The truth is there is no failure and is no success. Like that is related to the bigger picture, which is super beautiful as well.
That's helpful, just to really feel the emotion then, right? Really don't bypass it.
Yeah, totally. And sometimes you'll find that these feelings are identity, so they're seeking identity energy, and sometimes they're also just habit, and they're something you've picked up from your parents, and sometimes they're just old habits that are arising, patterns of your mind. It's used to thinking in a particular way.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you. There was just one more thing.
Yeah.
I just thought of Tony Parsons that I've been listening to a lot lately, and I love him. And I also I could see how people get frustrated because he's like, you know, he'll just keep saying it over and over again. And there is no you, and there is nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And so kind of like that's the difference between you and him, where you actually tell people what you can do, but you say it's a description,
And
not
also,
a prescription.
yeah, and also, I'm not talking about doing that in order to get enlightened. I'm talking
Uh-huh.
about doing that in order to settle down the person. And then, from an observation, it seems more likely that there can be a resonance with non duality than when you're deeply suffering. Because if you're deeply suffering, like, so say if I take
Mm-hmm.
someone that's never been into this subject before, somebody that like is deeply suffering from stress and negative thinking, like telling them that all there is beingness and all there is presence and all there is what is, it's kind of like an impossibility for that to
Mm-hmm.
be heard in a way,
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah,
they're so focused on themselves and their suffering. But
yeah, I
but
get it.
it's not meaning, like, I'm not saying that you do all these things and you'll become enlightened, because who would come
Mm-hmm.
enlightened? But from doing these
Mm-hmm.
things, it's like the identification becomes less. Like the
Mm-hmm.
identification becomes less bogged down with all these irrational and irrelevant strands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think it's really great, like, that you listen to these opposite speakers and it doesn't um, hurt your mind. I think that's a sign of maturity myself, that you can listen to things that are in direct opposition to each other, but also hear them from a bigger perspective. So I think that's good.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you so
With
much.
pleasure. Yeah, lovely to speak with you. Thank you.
You too. Have a great
Bye.
day.
Bye.
Bye.